So my name's Andrew Rae. I'm an illustrator. As Owen said, I'm a member of a collective called Peep Show, we're a company, we kind of work together, but essentially we're individual illustrators working on different projects for different clients. So this is one of my drawings. This was drawn with a pen on a piece of paper. I'm just going to do this is a little film, so I'll just show you a few bits and bobs of my work, and then I'm going to talk about one particular project. Thank you very much. So that just shows you a few little bits of my work and stuff. A lot of that comes from some films I did with Wacom recently. They kind of filmed me. I did some packaging for them. And I won't go through a list of clients and stuff. If you're interested, you can look on my website. That's andrewrae.info. So this talk is entitled Fear and Loathing in the Time of Trump. So there can't be many people whose face could be replaced with a butt and you'd still know who they are. It's maybe a shame that I had actually wrote Trump on there because you'd be able to tell anyway. So the project I'm going to talk about today is something I did for the New York Times. I am a regular contributor to the New York Times, the ye olde New York Times. So this is the cover that I did last month. This was the email that they sent me was entitled, well, they asked me to create sort of fear and loathing in the time of Trump. And this was the double-page spread that I did inside the magazine as well. So I'll come back to this, but a little bit of background. So I've been working as an illustrator since the early 2000s. This was, I did some bits and bobs for the New York Times going back as far as 2006. And this is something I did in 2013. This is about the science of happiness. And I've done some other bits and bobs. This is a cover about creativity. I'll just flick through these. This is about the diamond. This was but for the science section, and I was quite happy with this because Wayne Coyne from the Flaming Lips tweeted it out, so that was quite a nice little thing. This was from an all comics issue of the New York Times that was commissioned by Matt Willey, who recently redesigned the magazine. And this is from my regular column, the piece that I do every month, which is the On Money article about the economy. So this one is about the power of the dollar. This is about banking. I think we can all feel that that's how we feel about banking. And at the time, there was a regulation going on, but this is probably, we need to cut through these strings now, probably. So this was about the end of Thatcherism. That's the Federal Reserve. That's like an evolution of technology. And then this chap started turning up quite a lot. There's another one. His kind of hollow background. This was the first, when I read this article, it was the first time I thought maybe this guy could actually win, because he was, appealing to the Rust Belt. And this one is my favorite. So last month I got this email from Gail Bitchler at the New York Times, just pointing out the little bits that stand out. Cover story for the New York Times magazine. It's a nice subject to get. So I was out at the time, so I just kind of quickly... so this was the image that they referenced, something I did in 2014. They liked the fact that there were lots of little things to look for within this image. So I got back saying, thanks, looks amazing, I'd love to. I haven't had a chance to read it all, but I'll have a look and get back when I get in. And then suddenly it was like, oh crap, there's loads to do. And 2 weeks to do it. So then I had a call with Gail, and we started just talking through different ideas, and they started sending, this was a list of some of the things that they wanted to see. They were interested in it being symmetrical. They wanted monuments, Sean Spicer hiding in the bushes. I mean, there's just so much stuff. That it was just like, where the hell do we start with this? So I just did this really crappy little sketch, just trying to get the layout sorted out. Oh yeah, so one of the main things that they were interested in was this line at the bottom: a giant malevolent version of the Twitter bird blocking out the sun with people fleeing it Mothra style. So, which is great. But it was going to take over the whole image, so I decided just to make it lots of little Twitter birds kind of escaping from the White House there, and then to have like one of Trump's aides trying to catch them with a net, just ha. Other little bits you can see there. There's Obama on a kite surfing. There's you'll see more in a bit. There's Sean Spicer down the front there. Isn't it crazy? Like he's not even there anymore. So I sent this with it. This is some little bits of, there's a piece of my work on the left, and then the Bash Street Kids. I've always loved these busy kind of images where you can follow the action around. So then their response, this was the email I got. There's a lot of information to process. So little bits standing out. They didn't want to see a gun on the cover. Originally we were talking about maybe having a gun shooting the Twitter birds down, but they don't like guns on the cover, which is a nice thing. The worrying thing was where it said, one general note is that I think the people should be a bit smaller. Okay. So, and this was the working out the schedule, so we knew it was 2 weeks. And also, I had to mention that my wife and I made this little person recently. Thank you. This is Rita. So I had her to look after as well. So it was all a bit like, great job, but so much work. So anyway, so this was the worked up drawing, starting to get a little bit more detail in there. We've got some Saudi Arabian princes trying to go to the Trump Hotel. We've got some golfers, other bits and bobs in there. There's And then, so this was the first little rough I sent them. So all of these images I'm showing you are the roughs I sent them. So there it is coming together. That was after a couple of days. Oh, and then this was the email about the next image I had to work on, coming in while I'm finishing that one. So this was various things to think about. And so there it is. So I'll focus in on a few details. There's the aid trying to catch the Twitter birds. There's, over on the right there, you can see Ted Nugent and Sarah Palin and Kid Rock getting a selfie. There's a whole load of protesters in pussy hats trying to fight with Pepe the Frog, the racist frog. I feel bad for Matt Fury, who designed that character. It's a sad thing. I managed to get a little swamp creature in the back there as well, which I was happy up the top left. There's some senators in there. There's a Turkish fight going on. There's people stealing cameras. There's a little Sean Spicer down there in the bottom. and right there in the front is Steve Bannon. Now he's gone. And Kellyanne Conway. It's funny with Steve Bannon how like the thing that makes him distinctive is how ill he looks. So this was, I accidentally ended up putting myself in because I thought one of the pussy protesters should be a guy, so I added a beard and then it sort of ended up being me. Afterwards, I was really disappointed that I hadn't added a little sling with Rita in there, but, you know. So this was the rough for the other one. So I'm thinking about coping mechanisms, like keeping it simple, lots of characters overlapping, so I don't have to draw full bodies. That's going to be an ice sculpture of Trump's head there, and this was all in the Trump towers. But they didn't want that. They wanted the characters to be smaller, and they wanted a lower angle, so that meant perspective and all that difficult stuff. So, at this point we had to think about the third spot illustration as well. So then this was when I started working it up, getting a little bit more detail, and then here's the final of that one. So here you can see Steve Bannon again with a swamp creature. There's Putin with a bear. There's a whole load of shady deals going on in the background. Then Nigel Farage being a twat in the front there. Justin Trudeau helping some refugees down the front. Some swamp creatures again. Some protesters being kicked out. Erdogan and that lot all kicking around as well. The ice sculpture. And here, this was the final little spot that we did. This chap, Roger Stone, is a lobbyist and also literally actually does have a tattoo of not of Trump, but of Nixon. yeah, like the bad guy of politics. He chose to have him tattooed on there. So again, we were worried about whether you could tell this was Steve Bannon, but you just make him look ill enough. It's fine. And so this was the final email I got. Thanks from Gail. Freaking amazing. That's the kind of thing you want to hear. And then this one was from the editor-in-chief who sent me a little email to say how happy he was with it and thought it was a classic. So that's nice. And then just after that, I did a cover for a Taiwanese magazine, and I did manage to get Rita in there in the sling. So that's good. And that's that. So thank you.